Under that regime, and in the foregoing circumstances, the hotel quarantine program emerged and is the focus of this inquiry. It's anticipated that the board will hear evidence that this program formed at least part of what is known as Operation Soteria inside Emergency Management Victoria. It's also anticipated the board will hear evidence of a scientific and medical nature about what has been understood about the spread of the virus from the hotel quarantine program into the community. The impact of the COVID-19 virus in the Victorian community and the various steps taken by government agencies and public health officials in response to that impact are matters of profound and ongoing significance to this community. Understandably, there has been intense community interest and daily commentary in the media about this program. Increasingly over recent weeks, there has been growing and understandable community concern about transmission from that program into the general community. With that context, may I return to the scope of the inquiry. This inquiry relates specifically to the hotel quarantine program established by the Victorian government, which required that all returned travellers to quarantine for at least 14 days in designated hotels. That program was established by way of directions made under the Public Health and Wellbeing Act on the 28th of March, at a time when a large number of such travellers were returning to Victoria from overseas. Uncontroversially, those travellers were identified as posing the highest risk of infection. To establish and implement the hotel quarantine program, a range of contractual and other arrangements were entered into between government departments, hotels, a number of private service providers, private security companies, medical services, transport and food providers. It's anticipated in the course of the inquiry that you will hear from various witnesses that the purposes of the directions and the contractual arrangements entered into was to either eliminate or reduce the public health risk posed by COVID-19 by containing its spread from returned travellers into the community. As set out in the order in council establishing this inquiry, information already available to the inquiry suggests the possibility of a link between many of the cases of coronavirus identified in the Victorian community in the past few weeks and persons who were quarantined under the hotel quarantine program. Comments made by the Chief Health Officer to the media have suggested that it may even be that every case of COVID-19 in Victoria in recent weeks could be sourced to the hotel quarantine program. Those assisting you are in the process of obtaining the necessary material and documents and witnesses to put before the board on that very issue. It's appropriate to refer the board to its formal terms of reference. The order in council instituting this inquiry requires the board to inquire into the following: the decisions and actions of Victorian government agencies, hotel operators and private service providers, including their staff, contractors and other relevant personnel involved in the hotel quarantine program and the COVID-19 quarantine containment effort. Communications between Victorian government agencies, hotel operators and private service providers relating to the COVID-19 quarantine containment. The contractual arrangements in place across Victorian government agencies, hotel operators and private service providers as they relate to the COVID-19 quarantine containment. The information, guidance, training and equipment provided to those involved in the hotel quarantine program, and whether that training, guidance and equipment was followed and properly executed. The terms of reference further require you to inquire into, report and recommend on the policies, protocols and procedures used by those working in the hotel quarantine program. And lastly, the terms of reference require that any other matters necessary to satisfactorily resolve the foregoing matters already referred to. Turning to the powers of this board, the board's function is to inquire into, report on and make appropriate recommendations on the matters set out in its terms of reference. This board may conduct its inquiry in any manner that it considers appropriate. That said, it must act consistently with the Inquiries Act, with other relevant legislation, the order itself establishing this inquiry, and the requirements of natural justice. Significantly, the board is not bound by the rules of evidence. It may inform itself on any matter as it sees fit. It can receive evidence under oath, and it may conduct hearings. This means that the inquiry can and will receive information in a variety of ways and from a variety of sources, and may adopt procedures which are best suited to the timely receipt and analysis of such documents and information. These procedures will ensure that the persons and bodies whose actions are being examined will have an appropriate opportunity to explain those actions and decisions and to respond to any potential criticism before any finding is made.